Hello, Mr. Dave.
Hello, Manny. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much. And so are you. And I want to congratulate you on The Vigil. It's a creepy and thrilling film about confronting your own demons.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. So, when you first saw the script by Keith Thomas, what did you think? And was that the reason you joined the project?
Absolutely. Keith was so great and the script was so great. And I realized like this is a true opportunity to learn about a community that I know very little about. It's an opportunity to challenge myself as an artist, as a performer, as a person, really. And I was not disappointed because I learned so much and I met so many great people. And it was really a difficult experience building this character and building this story, and I was not disappointed. Keith is phenomenal. His script was creepy and filled with music and tone, and his directing style was just a pleasure to be around.
I was just going to say, your role is a physically, mentally, and emotionally draining role. How did you prepare?
You know, it started out with a lot of research into the community, a lot of talking to people who are a part of the community or who were a part of the community. And that was the most important aspect of the research for me, because I wanted to be sure that this character of Yakov was not an imitation, but was organically grown from the bottom up. So I even would say early on, I think it was our first table read, I'm not going to do an accent because I don't want to pretend. I don't want to do some accent imitation from something I've heard on TV or what I think the accent is supposed to be. So I started out speaking as myself. And then the more I learned over time, the more I learned about Yakov and the more I built that character in his past, the more the accent started to fall into place and it started to take shape, and the intonation of the voice and the hand motions and everything started to come together. Um, and then on top of that, it was learning about myself. It was learning about confronting my own demons, as you said, and what am I afraid of? If Yakov is having the most frightening night of his life, what is it that scares me, Dave Davis, more than anything in the world? And how can I grab onto that and hold on to that and share it with the audience?
What about Yiddish? What about speaking Yiddish? Do you speak Yiddish, Mr. Dave?
I do not. I learned all the Yiddish for the film, but um, and that was a great challenge, but it was so much fun. I've always wanted to do a performance like that. I'm Jewish, but I don't speak Yiddish or Hebrew. And even though I grew up learning a little bit of how to read Hebrew, actually the Hebrew ended up being more difficult for me than the Yiddish, because the Yiddish kind of made sense to my ear, whereas the Hebrew was a dialect of Hebrew spoken by Hasidic Jews that my family doesn't. All the pronunciations were completely different than the way I've always heard these words. So for the Hebrew, I actually had to retrain myself. The Yiddish was new and fun and made sense to me, whereas the Hebrew, it was something I've heard a million times that I have to say a completely different way.
So the Orthodox Jewish beliefs are at the heart of the film, right?
Yeah.
Shomer lends itself to supernatural elements. Talk to us more about the Orthodox Jew angle of the film.
Well, I was fascinated by learning that within that community, they are, in many cases, demons are used to frighten people. And I always thought that that was something that was reserved for other religions, and that in Judaism, we didn't really do that. We don't believe in hell. There's not this sense of like, do it or you'll be punished. It's more of like, do it because it's the right thing to do. And in talking with all my new friends from the Hasidic community, I learned, they said, no, we're told we'll be punished all the time. We're threatened with demons. Don't go in that house. There's a mazik in there. Don't cross that barrier line of our neighborhood. On the other side of that, there are demons that will corrupt and kill you. And I was absolutely shocked. I said, that's what you learn? I don't know that anywhere in Judaism, in the Jewish texts. And they go, but you have to read between the lines. This is where the community differs from mainstream Reform Judaism or even Orthodox Judaism. The Hasidic Judaism is very much its own thing. And even within that, there are all these different sects. So there was a lot to learn. And I really just dove in head first and tried to absorb as much of it as possible.
So the movie was shot on location in Brooklyn, right? And I heard that there were some supernatural presence. Tell us more about that, Mr. Dave.
Yeah, well, my grandfather actually died during the filming of The Vigil, but it was also sort of a blessing in disguise because I was in New York and he lived in New York, and I was able to be the last of my family to see him before he passed away. Um, and that was really incredible for me. And as a result, when we had his service, my family came into New York and I was working, and I got off set. I was still covered in blood, went in costume and blood makeup to his event, and just got to see my family and see some extended family I hadn't seen in a while. And then I said, I gotta go. I got a car waiting for me outside, and I gotta keep working. But I know that's how he would have wanted it. He was very supportive of me and my career. And we also filmed the movie in a home of a woman who had been recently deceased. And her presence was very felt. She was sort of a character in the film herself, because some of her belongings made it into the final set decoration. Some of the wallpapers and curtains and rugs were actually the way that she left her house after she passed away inside of it. So that really brought this air of gravity and importance to the set, which everybody felt. And then on top of that, I mean, I don't want to get this wrong, but we had 3 other producers lose grandparents. I think Keith Thomas, the director, as well. I'm embarrassed that I don't know that at the moment. But there was just a real air of, as you said, magic moving around that set.
Wow. I mean, the movie is essentially a one-character study. Although I love Lynn Cohen here as the mysterious Mrs. Litvak. And this was her last film, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow. I mean, that's another angle to the film. So, and this is for me, Mr. Dave. Do you think that your character, Yakov Ronen, regains a new perspective on life, like what your rabbi said?
Yeah, I think we leave the ending open for interpretation. So I don't want to, mess up anybody else's experience by saying what my thoughts are on Yakov's experiences moving forward. But I will say that within the film, Yakov learns how to open his heart. He learns how to, if these demons are within us, if they're hidden, if they're locked away, the only answer isn't to hide it deeper and to push it down and to keep it trapped. The only answer is to open your heart, release the demon onto the world, and deal with the consequences.
That's
So
right.
Yakov, he struggles, but then through that struggle, he finds himself. Now, at the end of the film, does he have any answers? Does he know how he feels towards his community, his faith, his religion, himself? I don't know. But
Yeah.
I do know that he moves forward in a way where he's ready to find out.
That's right. Well, a clue is that little smile, that little hint of a smile that you gave. I was like, wow, that's fantastic.
Thank you so much, Manny.
You're so welcome. So, final question. Do you believe in the supernatural?
Yeah, I do. I'm a realist, and there are many days where just cold hard science is the only thing that matters to me. But as someone who has, in my own way, spoken to God before, I think it would be a travesty to deny its existence. And there are days where I think there's no such thing as magic. That's absurd. And then I think, well, look at how much I have utilized magic in my life. To deny it would be to deny myself. So I think without magic, life would be less interesting. And I like it when life is interesting.
I totally agree with you. Just don't bring any magic around. A big congrats on the Vigil again, Mr. Dave. It's a terrifyingly satisfying movie. And like what the film says, what matters is we're moving forward.
Thank you, Manny.
Thank you, sir. And good luck on everything, okay?
All right, you too.